Pretty soon she'll be doing plurals. This is the last one.
There's a couple.
Really? Sorry.
Thanks for coming tonight, folks. Today is Monday, June 30th, 2025. I'd like to open the regularly scheduled meeting of the Allenstown, New Hampshire Board of Selectmen at 6 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Board members present this evening.
Lauren Lambert.
Scott McCollum, John Harrington, also also present in the room with us tonight. Just be as loud as you can, folks, because we usually don't get this many people, so this is kind of exciting. Also present in the room this evening. Start over here, sir. Mike Dow.
Here you go.
Armin Burger.
Terry Champagne.
Brad Mundell. Oh, my God.
No.
Richard Keeble. Thank you, sir.
Irene Gerbil. Susan Forbes. Lindsay Mundell. Christina Make saying
My day?
your name.
They're all two though. Irene Angelo.
Terry McCara.
Judy Silva.
Brian Norfolk.
Yeah, those there very good.
All right. Online with us this evening.
Jenna Partington,
Hi, Jenna.
Aaron Zaya, All right. Before we start the town's business tonight, kind of an exciting evening. We have a Boston Post game to war tonight. This doesn't happen very often. If I may ask, how many generations of family? 4 generations tonight? That's awesome. That's awesome. We're here tonight to honor Noella Tebow. I've got a short biography or family history, if you will, that Mr. Burville. Would you like to read this, Armin? I know you put a lot of work into this.
Oh, no, you've got.
Okay, all right. Noella was born on 19 December 1929 in Manchester to William and Mary Alliance. There were 18 children in the family, she being number 12. She lived on Hackett Hill Road, East, attending local schools. Noella moved to Allenstown after high school for employment in Mills. There she met Roger Tebow. They married in 1951. A few years later, they welcomed their daughter. Family means everything to Noella. For almost 5 decades, family members would meet for lunch every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Not only brothers and sisters, but their children and their children's children, with an average of 20 each gathering. Noella loved these get-togethers. She was the photojournalist, family historian, taking pictures of everyone at each luncheon for decades. Noella's other interests include crafting, reading, and gardening. Noella has a sister in Boston. She has a daughter in California, granddaughter, and a great-granddaughter, Molly. You get to visit them? 4 generations, all in attendance tonight. So I'll have to pick out. You're looking at me with trepidation,
You have to stick.
but I'm gonna give it to you. The board of selectmen and the town are proud to warn you. The Boston Post came for the town of Allenstown. The original Allenstown cane, presented in 1909 by Edwin A. Grozier, publisher of the Boston Post newspaper, is held in trust with the Allenstown Historical Society. And I never thought I'd say this to a woman. I was taught not to. Recognized as the eldest resident in town of Allenstown by the Allenstown Select.
Thank you for all the work you've done for this. Mr. Burville has been wonderful.
Thanks for coming, folks. I'm sure it's a logistical nightmare to get this much family together in the same place at the same time.
Congratulations. Go on.
Oh, God.
I didn't run.
Hi, Michael. Let's.
Let's go eat. But I'm food enough now. Let's go. Go on.
Very good.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Manuel. Let's start meeting.
Oh, I wanted mine. I mean, I want to since the why. I was thinking, about a bush. Tree maybe?
Yeah, that's great.
We had access last year. We had the big gate across so people could go, but we just had like a car here in there so the kids could go in and it's not cool. Be busy.
Citizen comments. Any citizens comments? Mr. Fastenal.
We had our last concert on Family Day on June 22nd. The turnout wasn't as robust as we had hoped. We did have it outdoors with the canopy for the tent for the band, so that went well. But it just doesn't quite feel like when we have concerts here. We did have a discussion about the next concert sometime in August, and couldn't quite get consensus. I had contacted one band that we had last year, but other people were looking for a country band. I tried contacting the band from May, but they wanted $500 plus would cost us another $300 to rent the school. At the same time, I've been in touch with the police chief about bringing the bike rodeo back for August. And my thinking is just to do the bike rodeo and not try to run another concert. So collaborate with the police department on that event, because that'll be the only event for August. Because then we've got Old Home Day at the end of the month. So a lot of people are going to be focused on that instead. So we're trying to not compete with our own big event.
Armin.
Yeah, just a reminder to everybody that our bake sale is this coming Friday, and it's July 4th, from 11 to 4. Hope to see you there.
That's at the old meeting house.
At the old meeting house.
Chief.
What I have here is, Global, Public Safety, who does the update for our cruiser every year. They notified us, maybe a couple of weeks ago that they elected to put the cost for the cruiser lights into the quote they gave us. They went to tax exempt leasing. I contacted tax exempt and they were able to amend the 2026 and 2027 payments for the third cruiser. So it's something that should have been included, it wasn't. It's gonna make the payments go up $13.7148. Have a motion, if you guys are able to do that, and then we'll to sign off.
Are those dollars included in the current year's budget? We can, well, then, in that line. The dollars, probably.
It comes out of the capital reserve, so when it goes in there, I mean. It's an additional amount, so.
I mean,
They're already in it.
default budget, you need to talking about what is.
We'll be
in that
able to
line.
cover it one way or another, but whether it's specific meeting.
I don't operate about lights.
You can, and they're already in it, so.
Yeah, so I understand that, that's what's the position.
No, that's fine.
Any other questions of the chief? Thank you for doing this. Chief. Take it.
I did, took good notes.
There are no more questions for Chief Tower. I move that we approve the additional cost of $2,750 with these cents, including interest, for the 2025 cruiser lights outfit to be split between the two remaining payments in 2026. 7. I also move the Chief Tower be authorized to on behalf of the board.
Second that,
All in favor?
Rashawn, Lee, aye.
Diane,
Laura, aye.
Scott. It's really helped me bring that sheet.
Oh, geez.
One and done, one and
Yeah.
done.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was our road agent Chad.
Alright. So we have a few things to go over, catch basin and street sweeping is this is first. The scary part of the two is the prices that came out. Our low bid on catch basin cleaning is for 2026 is $9,600. The default budget has $4,750 in it. So that's gonna be, we're definitely gonna be short on that come next year if we end up in the default budget. The same thing with street sweeping, the 2026 number is actually 4620. Again, we have 4750 in that budget for next year. So that one will be able to work through, with the exception of, it looks like the 2026 permit year for MS4 requires to sweep twice. So that number will double. So the problem with all of this is they are federal mandate by the EPA. If we do not follow them, they will come down and they'll audit everything, which would probably cost us more.
And there
So-
are only certain select entities that can do the catch basin.
Yeah, it is.
So it's not something we can do in-house.
No, not without a soccer truck. So if we wanna buy that, it's 100 or so, we do 20,000.
I was looking for a cost savings.
No.
plan.
That's not it.
Your cap reserve fund is homeowner.
No, they've always been working with budget because they're yearly costs, this is not and we usually do a 3-year contract with everybody. I'm actually surprised that we got 3 vendors for the catch basin cleaning, typically we get to talk to. And the last time we put the RFP out for sweeping, we actually only got Telco and not MSK maintenance services, so. The people are looking for work, but it's just,
Is it possible to find with another municipality with a RFP, you can read? That's impossible.
it is, but they're pretty standard, they're hourly, they base them all on hourly
So
rates.
it's more land mass, more.
Yeah. So No, then the second issue that comes into some of these numbers is that in 2026, our MS4 district actually expanded. Our MS4 district used to include the downtown area off into the intersection of River Road and Granite Street. So by Fiddler's Farm, by that area, now it goes all the way to the entrance of Bear Brook. And on both sides of the highway. So basically it encompasses all of ours. The catch basins are monitored, we know the depth of every one, we know how much material comes out of each one, if any of them are exceed certain amounts, they have to be done twice a year. The ones that need to be done twice a year, we do by hand the second time, because it's usually not as bad in the fall. But the doable by hand is a task that nobody wants to do, it's basically, it's backbreaking work because it's all down in the hole. So either you scoop with what they call a goon spoon, which looks like a bent spoon on
20-foot stick. Or you just lower somebody down into the base and they fill up 5-gallon buckets and they haul them out. So, we took out about, a 13-ton material out of the catch basin, so to do that 5-gallon bucket at a time would not be an exercise anybody would wanna do.
So this year we're okay on street sweeping, the catch basins, we're gonna be about 5,000 over budget.
No, we've already done them, and we came in, I believe we came in just under on both of them.
Okay, so it's
So,
next year.
so I'm talking 20, so this contract for each one of them is for 2026, 27, and 28.
Okay.
In the MS4 world.
Well, it's
we-
good to know now before
Yes.
we our budget,
Yes,
But
so,
in looking forward, where do you anticipate that difference would come from and what would that impact be to other services?
I mean, there's not a lot of money left around, so. I mean, we can always, I guess, reduce paving until we don't have any paving, other than that, I don't have an answer,
And
you know?
I know we have time, but I would expect that to be addressed before we're looking at finalizing the budget for next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that you're gonna, I mean, I think I can present the numbers, but at some point you guys have to make a decision on what we want to talk.
But those are state mandated.
Those are, yeah, we don't have an option. And next year, I think they're gonna be looking for us to do the rest of our parking lot or town property. They basically want us to look at all the town properties in the town. And look how we can reduce stormwater runoff from each property. And come up with a plan to do that with each property. Now, whether that plan ever gets put into place, we don't know. But that's another mandate, and that was actually a mandate of this year's permit, and we've kind of pushed it. We've started it, but stopped spending money.
To reduce stormwater runoff. How are we gonna do that?
Well, you reduce impervious
Oh,
services that, you know,
Yeah,
they get into rain gardens and all kinds of other stuff where. There's a huge amount of maintenance involved and a huge amount of. But they don't care because it's all about the water not going into the river.
But I'm guessing it's geared towards future planning, like the master plan and as improvements are done down the road to be cognizant.
Well, so this is all of, the MS4, as long as I've been involved with it, is made up as it goes. The feds they change and they do whatever they seem to want to every permit year. So, I mean, that's my thought on it as well, but I mean, 2 years from now, they can say, no, we want you to implement these now. And then we're kind of.
Yeah.
And they monitor all the waters and all of the rivers and all the streams, and the problem with it is the southern part of the state, some of the ponds are turning salt. I mean, they put down so much salt in some places that some of the ponds are actually they show saline in the water.
I've
So,
seen them on Apple now monitoring.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so I think it's a real world thing, but it's just. Some of what they ask is a little bit ridiculous, so I've never been a huge fan of the whole MS4 thing, but I think it's very costly.
So these two contracts, both the catch basin and the street sweeping are 3-year contracts?
They're all 3-year contracts and they have 3-year numbers for all 3 of them, yeah.
Let's go to these two, at least we'll know, and I'm sure the prices this year are better than they're gonna be.
That's right.
Well, and that's, we started that like 6 years ago, only because we were looking to try to hold the number. We noticed bigger jumps each year when we put it back out, And if you look at these numbers, I mean, I would assume that we'll go with Wind River Environmental, which is basically Felix. If everybody knows Felix, they kind of bought them out. So it's Eastern Pipe / Wind River Environmental. They're $9,600 this year, they're $9,800 next year, they're $9,800 the following year. So they haven't jumped a whole lot, in that 3-year deal. And it's the same thing with the sweeping with Calco. Calco's been doing our sweeping for the last 3 years. And they're $46.20, then $46.50, then $46.80. So, I mean, they're two good people. Belmore had our last contract prior this year and the 2 years prior. Prior to that, it was Felix. So between those, so it seems to go back and forth here and there. But, so I'm looking to hopefully approve these so we can get these taken care of and we can get a contract signed between the two for the two of them. And looking for you to award. I would assume that we're gonna award them to the lowest contractor. And I have no problem with either of the lowest, they're both good companies.
Do you have any concerns, John?
No.
Okay, you agree with Chad's opinion?
I do.
I'm good with that.
Need a motion?
Two motions.
Can we include in that motion that a decision will be made during the budget process this year or the next year? Which lines those would be coming out of, so that we're planning properly ahead of time?
I think we'll have to.
That is up to the motion maker, but.
Motion.
You have them written out.
You all have these in your folder.
Do you wanna make the motion, Trish, so you can have it worded how you want?
Sure. I make, and that was Wind River was the, was in town.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we, allow the road agent to enter into a contract with Wind River Environmental Services for catch basin cleaning, RFP bid that they posed for the year 26, 27, and 28. With the plan to add the line item prepared for those years within the budget processing at the end of this year. It's $9,600 for 2026, $9,800 for 27, and $9,800 for 2028.
All in favor?
For time.
Kathleen,
Diane, Laura.
Scott.
So for the street sweeping one, the only thing I ask is that this $4,620 and so on is only for the spring sweep. They have not made the decision yet whether we're gonna sweep twice or not next year. So that's still coming forward, it'll be come forward in the next few months. So if somehow we can explain that that's once and could possibly be twice, would be perfect.
And this one, there's already, the funds are already allocated in that line for, for 2026
Yes,
and the following years.
yeah, it'll cover all 3 years,
Yeah.
if we only sweep once.
Okay.
If we have to sweep twice, then we're short about that.
I make a motion that the road agent enter into a contract with Talco Enterprises for street sweeping for 2026 in the amount of $44,620. 2027 in the amount of $4,650, and 2028 in the amount of $4,680. With the provision that there may be second street sweeping required in 2026, which will be addressed as that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Tricia.
Kathleen,
Diane, Laura.
Yes, Scott.
Okay.
Keep going, Tom.
So we got a couple other things, the skid steer needs tires,
I'm sorry, what?
the skid steer, for the Bobcat, it's actually. You wanna call it that, so I got a couple prices of basically the two places closer, the two dealers that we use that for other things that deal with skid steer tires are Stratton Tire and Bow and HK or Outcom over on Granite Street. So we're gonna look to replace one set that we actually we're down 2 sets, but one will get us through this year without an issue. That. So I'm just looking for where we want to get them. I don't know how you guys want it, or where you guys want to spend your money. Stratum tire, it's a total cost of $800 to do the tires. And HK, it's a total cost of $900 to do the tires. So,
One better qualified or gonna provide a more quality tire?
Time and fuel too,
They're-
going back and forth.
right, and they're about the same thing, I mean, I can physically bring the skid steer to Howard. And he will swap tires, put it back on. If I bring the, I either have to load a skid steer and haul it there, or I have to take the tires off, bring them to them and bring it back. So, I mean, if we look at man hours and all that, we're probably about the same. But
Who do you normally go to?
we typically use HK. Only because he's there, probably the best Bobcat mechanic in the state. He was Bobcat's #1 mechanic for years when he worked there, and so I prefer to go there, but $100 is $100 out of the, out of the budget versus time and labor.
And what was the associated cost is gonna.
Right, I think they're very.
I agree with construction.
Okay,
Yeah, I agree.
so we're good, I can go to HK. Get tires and we can use it, we need a motion for.
I need a motion, we're planning on using the capital reserve fund for highway equipment. That'll need to be included, the current balance is $26,800.
Good plan, I like it. I don't know if you have something.
I think I've got it all. I moved that the board authorize the road agent to purchase new tires for the skid. Yes, was I close?
Skating.
So, and the company being Chad,
HK Auto,
HK Auto,
for $900.
$900 money to come from the,
Highway equipment capital reserve fund.
thank you,
Second.
all in favor.
Kathleen, I. Diane, Laura.
Okay, but I still don't know. I told John if I could make this meeting
What's it?
last for about 8:30, he didn't want to go home tonight. So.
Make me change my
Setting.
We talked about paving a little bit earlier this year, and we talked about doing Bartlett Street. In Bartlett Street, the contract went out for Bartlett Street, and when I talked to GMI about a week or 2 weeks ago, and we were getting ready to schedule, I had looked at a couple of the other streets that we have. And I think we have to add a couple or 3 streets to the list. There were 3 streets that were as part of the RFP that went out originally. The streets are Ridge Road, Reserve Street, and Townhouse. Ridge Road and Reserve Street have been based, Reserve Street's almost 3 years now. Typically, anything after 2 is not
The base coat.
with a base. So, and the problem with base coat is it's very, very coarse. So it allows the water and everything to beat down into it. There's less, there tends to be less emulsion and all that stuff that holds it together. So I looked at Reserve Street, we have 1 crack forming that we'll have to seal before we pave it. But I'd like to pave that one. Ridge Road has been 2 years now. So that's another one that concerns me a little bit. Townhouse is a road that's in need of a shim and overlay. And my fear is if we let it go too much longer, it's gonna need reconstruction as opposed to just. So I think we get 20 years out of shim and overlay. I think if we wait 2 years, we get 20 years out of reconstruction. So it's one of those things that I think if we spend half the money now, we get 20 or 15 years out of that road pretty easily.
Have you and John talked about ways to fund this?
Yeah, so we have we have $280,000 plus or minus in the capital reserve account for paving. So, the Ridge Road, the top coat on Ridge will be about 17.5 to do. Reserve Creek about 17,000. The wild card is Townhouse because the shim is an estimate, it's always a guess. Because we're trying to reestablish the crown and the dips and do's and all of that we fill in, it's hard, it's a hard number to guess, but talking with GMI, I kind of did it. I did my estimation over the years, and I came out with his, and we're within about 20 ton of each other, which is pretty good, so I'm expecting Townhouse to cost us about 55,000. So, the problem with Townhouse is it's 30 feet wide. And that's the hitch where Townhouse is so expensive, there's almost 2 roads worth of pavement.
You do have the money in the capital reserve account, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I know we haven't got all our audits back, but do you think we're gonna be able to ask the voters to fund the capital reserve accounts this year?
That would be the plan.
And you're thinking it's feasible
It's up to the voters.
up to, but for us to even close it like this last year?
I think you would have to, you took a year off, given the previous year. I think you have to go back to them just to keep these funds allocated because we're relying heavily on them this year.
But we have to make sure we have an unassigned fund balance.
That is one way to fund it. I won't know that until the 2024 audit is complete.
Okay,
So between the two, I'm expecting to use about 160,000 of the capital reserve. 170 probably between the time we're done.
and you said it's at 290?
It's 280 and change. And a lot of that depends on Bartlett Street, and John and I are gonna take a ride at one point. There's a lot of sidewalk on Bartlett Street, and I don't think that needs to be. I talked to several of the residents and they would prefer to have grass as opposed to a sidewalk on both sides of the road. So I'd like to keep the sidewalk on one side where it goes 80% of the way down the road. And the other side, it goes in front of 3 houses. And I think we can remove that portion. On that side, the houses are also very close to the road. So that people were happy with an extra 4 feet of, 4 feet of grass and so. But that'll all come out again. We will, whatever sidewalks we do on Bartlett Street, we'll try to do in-house. Just because they're so expensive to have done. For example, when we did Valley Street, it was about $80,000 to do Valley Street over. It was $36,000 for the sidewalks on Valley Street. So that's how pricey sidewalks can be, so. And it's all labor, it comes down to, you pay $86 a ton for asphalt, you pay $160 a ton for them to put it down, and it's all by hand. So with the curb machine that we have, that we purchased a few years ago, I think we're in better shape to do the sidewalks in-house. Not that I wanna do a lot of paving in-house, we'll never pay for roofs, but just because of the cost of equipment, but. I think the suggestion was made if we can't afford to have them do sidewalks, is to rent the sidewalk machine for a week. And do the few sidewalks we need to do, spend $1,000 on a rental fee and do it in-house. And save money. So.
Chad, do you anticipate any other items that you're gonna be looking at the capital reserve fund for?
I hope not. The only other thing, we have some money in the in our budget as far as the like road reconstruction, the supplies line that we use. I'd like to use the majority of that line for crack sealing this year. I think if we spend $15,000 or $20,000 in crack sealing, it would go a long way. It's every road that we crack seal it averages to add anywhere between 3 to 5 years to the life of the road. So what I would propose we do is we start crack sealing the newest roads backwards. And we go right down the list of what we've done and work our way backwards and try to save as many of the roads or prolong the life of as many of the roads as we can. An untreated road or an unmaintained road will last 20 years. Our budget at $170,000 doesn't give us anywhere near what we need to do for roads. if we don't try to keep the good ones good. So, but I'm hoping that comes out of, without a lot of major work that we need to do pipe wise or anything else. Throughout town, which I don't foresee right now, but it's come up. I'm hoping to use the majority of that money for grass. And if you need to, we'll dip into the capital reserve a little bit for it, but. So,
John, is there any issues on the newest part of Townhouse Road? It's the part that Ronnie put in, what, 40 years ago now? They put the new buses in there. I remember it being wet.
yeah,
And there was a brook right through the middle of it.
so that whole neighborhood's wet. You know, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
we dig in streets out there, we still had sawdust in spots. From the old sawmill when they pushed it over and they filled in the swamp. So it is, it's a wet area, River Road will always be a fight for us. As far as keeping it in that townhouse section, Heritage and Meadow will also, but Meadow and Heritage are holding up pretty well. So I think, you know, I think with we'll get some good years out of it. There's not a lot of opportunity for drainage here. You know, it's very limited as far as catch basins and stuff on the road right now. And there's not a lot of that we can add. So.
Did you cite an amount when you started?
Yeah, so
And up not to exceed?
yeah, I'm thinking, I'm thinking not to exceed like 85-ish. Or about 85,000
For the three and
for the three. Yeah. My math is right, I'm pretty close, right? 17 years, that's 35, say 90.
I was gonna say
90.
Any other questions of Chad?
Not a question, but I have a comment, I didn't wait till after you did the motion.
Okay. All right.
What's going on?
This, I moved that the board allow the chair to sign
You'll have to go
an amendment to a contract between the town of Allenstown and GMI, Belmont, New Hampshire, regarding paving, adding
They'll have to redo it.
3 areas as described here. Ridge Road,
But you
Preserve Street, and Townhouse Road.
I've already gone.
This amendment to take effect on June 30th, 2025. The not to exceed price funding coming from the
Probably.
paving capital reserve account, not to exceed
So I
$90,000.
think that's.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Neutral shine.
Kathleen, I.
Diane,
All right.
Scott.
I'd like the town to consider, putting in an ordinance for new or refurbishing businesses to have to make a donation for road. Many other towns do this. So I think that they have for new and refurbishing businesses. And that'd be something considered by their zoning and.
Can you just say that one more time? There's just so much noise.
I know,
down
I'm
here.
telling you.
So I'd like the town to consider requiring new or refurbishing businesses to pay a fee for road maintenance. So other towns have this, and it's a way that they fundraise for their road maintenance. And that would be something that would be done.
And we almost do it, but you know, I mean, Charlie Morgan got a bill when he. Cause Patricia, when a business comes in and they redo a business in town. Or a major development like if the Armstrongs comes down and the McDonald's goes in, they're gonna tear turnpike. Turnpike will need to be repaid. It's not on the CFP to be repaid, and you know, within the next couple of years, it's it. But they will do so much damage to that road with the equipment and everything else that it's, I mean, I didn't know other towns did it, but it's not outlandish.
Don't the voters have to?
I think that, yeah, it would go on with to the voters, but that's the right way to go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nothing to.
Consider that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they always cut the road open to hook the sewer, they always do something with water, gas, I mean, the road turns into Swiss cheese.
Yeah, we're gonna
Before it's done.
dig that
Could
out.
you look into that and see, you know, what, you know, if there's RSA's governing that type of
It
work?
would be a zoning amendment.
Yeah.
You have to be part of an impact fee,
We don't have impact fees, but
which would be a good thing to consider as well.
Yeah.
See, we've got some stuff on the horizon.
Before we can. Before that impact fees, I think there's an ordinance that we need to. put in.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
we should do that. Yeah, I know other towns do impact fees, I think it's. I think it's a good idea because, you know, they're bringing in their business and it's gonna be successful, hopefully. Yeah, they should help us out to put the infrastructure as well.
And most of them did, I mean, Brady Sullivan did a major portion of Canal Street. They paid and took care of, I mean, Charlie Moy did a bunch out in front of there, out front of your storage. You know, so I don't think it's something that most of the businesses
They won't.
don't understand, yeah.
Right.
You know, I mean, they understand that they care for roads and that they, you know, they have to fix them, and they want good roads in front of their businesses. So.
Correct me if I'm wrong, McDonald's did say if they built here, that would be part of the plan,
I
correct?
don't know, I can't.
I think they did, Chad, I'm not 100% sure, but I thought they said they do the whole length there.
Apparently.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge number, I mean, most of the time, they're not huge numbers, it's just a matter, I think Morgan, I think that was about. About $15,000 or you know, somewhere in that neighborhood, so it's not I mean, to a big project like that, it's not a huge expense.
Right.
So,
I know when I was on planning, I think you were, we had discussed that with Matt Monahan about impact fees, and he said before we do that, there was something we needed to put in place, so.
and I think it has to do with the master plan as well, or one of that of the CIP.
Yeah, so. Actually, there's a planning board meeting Wednesday, I'm not sure if Matt's gonna participate, but maybe if you two were there, you can revisit the subject.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll kind of be there, no.
Okay, yeah, I can bring Michael there, and he can ask, and I don't know if Matt's gonna be there, because not, then it goes to the next meeting, but he had given us direction, we just don't. So, it's probably time we do. Yeah.
Okay, number 5, I think this is the last one. We use on the tender to back up, and we use it all over town, we use a bunch of compost. We compost it down, it becomes basically only. We screen it, right now, we actually run it through a grizzly bar. That belongs to Ryan, he brought it to the shop so that we can run a bunch through and use it. The problem with it is a grizzly bar is not a screener, it's just bars on a rack that are 3 inches wide, so anything smaller than 3 inches goes through the crack. So typically in the past, we've used it down at both the bridge park and boat launch. When we put it out, there is a serious amount of breaking that's involved to get the other stuff out of it. You know, we find a lot of pots, we just find a lot of bags. So basically what ends up is anything that somebody picks up when they're cleaning their yard and throws into that yard bag ends up into the compost pile. So that's where, you know, we try to keep them as clean as we can, but it is what it is. So usually what happens, we break it all out, nobody cares, nobody says anything. We did it on the right side of the tender and nobody said a peep, but it was cool and we kind of did it all in one day. On the left side of the tender, we put it all out on the day that was 92 out. And at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I was like, we had enough, boys, let's cut it for the day, we'll finish tomorrow when it's cool. Well, that might have been a mistake because everybody came home and there was debris still in it that we had not out. So the good and the bad of it is that the material is cheap and it's basically free. We turned it over a few times, we held a, like a composting process, and then in 3 years or a couple of years, it becomes a great material, and people use it all over town for gardens and whatnot. The bad part about it is when we use it in a situation like that, it's very, very labor intense to use it. We spend a lot of time reading, spend a lot of time picking. So that being said, I talked it over with John a little bit, and in order to continue to use the material and not push the labor end of it so high where it takes so much, I think we probably should, or it'd be my suggestion that we consider looking at a screener. Just a small portable compact screener, something that we can run the material through. It runs with a motor. There's a shaker deck on it, dumps the material in, the garbage falls off the front, the good stuff goes through. Looking at them, I would probably recommend that we buy something used. There seems to be a decent used market in them. They're hard to pin down. So I kind of look new for them. It's just to give you guys an idea of what we'll be looking at. On the low end, we're probably about $8,000. On the upper end, we're about 20. The $20,000 screener is probably the most reliable and the better of the three basic small screeners that are out there. Used, I've seen them 10 to 12, it's between 10 and 15 grand on marketplace. That being said, we were talking about it, we have $13,000 in the revolving fund for the landfill or the recycling, is that what? So I was looking to see what you guys thought about maybe using some of that money and going down that road towards a screener, and that way we could use that to process the material. And kind of avoid the issues that we've had and kind of reduce the labor that we said it took 4 guys 3 hours to finally go through and make it look good, where I could put one guy on a screener and one piece of equipment and have more than enough to do one side of that road in an hour. So it's one of those things that I think we can maximize it, and I don't think we'll ever not have compost. You know what I mean? I think we'll always have that. And I think it would be a better thing. We put it out front, and if you see it out front, you'll see a trash bag, the trash can beside it. And I think it would even be nice if we could screen some of the material, put it out front for the residents and allow them to use that as well.
Yes.
And that way they have a better product. And not all of it's trash. There's a lot of sticks, there's a lot of roots, a lot of stuff that hasn't decomposed yet. That we pick out as well. So it's not all empty bottles and whatever. But there's some crazy stuff in there. I mean, when we break out the right side, I found a cassette. I'm like, who left the arrows in the cassette? And I think in the dirt, but I mean, so there is some weird stuff in it that comes through, and I don't know where it comes through or why. But it ends up in those bags, and then it ends up in the pile.
Give an idea of dollar wise, what the labor savings would be.
I mean, we could save hundreds in labor on a small project like that, and on top of it, I mean, if we were to go out, the other option is buy loan. And I mean, that's anywhere between $24 and $36 a yard. I mean, we put five 1-ton loads on that road. So we put 20 odd yards of material down too. So between the cost of the material and the cost of the labor, I think it's a smart move for us. I think we have the money from the metal recycling and that's kind of what we put this together for, right? I mean, that's kind of what this whole revolving fund for is to help improve what we're doing there. And I think by doing that, we can help improve that. So, I mean, if it's something you're interested in, I can start looking. for more used pieces of equipment to see what's out there and then come back with some prices.
Yeah.
That's good.
You know. And then we can go from there. I mean, in the past, what we've done is we've sold it off, not even sold it off, we've given it off away because we have so much of it that we can't use it. We can't, you know, I mean, we've only processed so much, so dirt doctors come and they traded us 24 yards of bark mulch for the town
Oh, wow.
for 300 yards alone, you know, that.
Yeah.
You know, so I prefer to use it for our benefit and the town's benefit as opposed to giving it away. But there's only so much room back there, so I can only take so much of it.
I mean, look for a decent one.
Yeah. And I mean, like, we talked a little bit, I talked to Don a little bit about it earlier and I don't think we wanna absolutely decimate that fund. But at the same time, we have,
Nothing coming into.
right, well, there is, because we're still doing metal, it's just not quite as much as it was prior.
So,
Yeah.
but it can only be used for these certain purposes as
Sure.
well, so it makes sense to use it,
Yep.
save taxpayers' money, but be mindful that it may not be.
Right. I mean, you know, 6 months ago, we do a can or 2 a month. And now, I don't know, I think we've done 1 in the last 2 months. So it's slowed down consistently, drastically, and I think what's happening is, we used to get a lot of people that were throwing that stuff in the trash. You know, they throw their old toaster in the trash, well, we stop them and we throw it in the meadow. And I think those things are just getting picked up curbside now. And those guys on the curbside just. They're just throwing it in.
Maybe they're sorting it themselves somewhere else, but
Well, it
not
could be.
benefiting you.
But yeah, I mean, absolutely. So, oh, yes. So if we're good with that, I'll look for something and hopefully bring it back to you next time.
Yeah.
Okay. The last one, you want me to do this one or you wanna?
I'll go ahead.
Okay.
So I've been waiting to hear back from EES about our transfer station. We don't have a meeting date. That's not what we're talking about tonight. But Chad and I have had one of our local haulers approach us, interested in helping out our situation with MSW or household trash. And the proposal that Chad and I are bringing to you tonight is that we'd like to try on a 90-day period, a local hauler situated at the transfer station on a Saturday to collect MSW from residents. It would be a paid-for program. Residents would pay the hauler directly for either by the bag, by the pound, has been determined yet. This would move closer to satisfying what EES is requiring us to do, provide an in-house MSW reception place. From the hauler's perspective, the reason it would be trial is we have to determine whether or not there's enough resident interest to show up, to make it worth their while. They would be providing either a container or a packer truck with their personnel. They would be functioning, just using a piece of our property to fire this out. I just heard back from EPS that they would consider this a move in the right way. In the right direction, but they would not go as far as to say satisfy the RSA. So Chad and I are bringing this to you to see your level of interest. You would like to pursue this. Since then, I've had a second local contractor approach me wanting to do the same thing. So if we were going to try this out, we would have to put out an RFP for this trial.
It's no cost to the town, so
No.
this is just information. But we're still open to a potential loss.
Pardon?
Are we still open to a potential lawsuit? even if
There's
we-
never been a lawsuit mentioned, it's just bringing the town into compliance is what EPS wants to move forward.
Would they do that by fines?
I'm not sure, we still haven't had that meeting.
Does the RSA state what the punitive Energy could be or.
No. It's still, from my personal opinion, unresolved as to whether or not we're out of compliance. One of the issues when I first brought this to the board as a possibility was we were in a consortium with Concord. DES had found older documentation back in 2012. The town actually voted to remove themselves from the consortium. So we are not technically in the consortium.
Was there a buyout related to that? That changed much one with that?
I don't.
It was all about hauling and costs. We were leaving the co-op, we had to bring our trash to Wheelabrator, and it was their tipping fees were high at the time. Casella offered us a place to dump here in town for a much lower fee. So we bowed out of the co-op, which nobody thought we could get out of, and since the co-op fell apart. Once we got out, everybody else failed as well, because the tipping fees everywhere else were in the neighborhood of $15 to $20 cheaper per ton. You know, and at that time we were doing 200 or 2,000 ton a year in trash alone. So it was a considerable number for us to get out. And at the same token, we were using our tractor, picking our stuff, and it was the drive to kind of go. You know, and the joke was grab a sandwich, a drink, and a paper when you go to Pembroke, because you could wait 2 or 3 hours. I mean, routinely guys came back at 4 or 5 o'clock from Pembroke when they went up at 1. And Casella was right here in town, they're far less busy and more open touch using it. So that's why we got out of the Wheelabrator co-op. I did not know at the time when we got out of that, it's out of the, you know, the that word I can't say with all the other towns. So that's kind of why we went down that road with that.
So if the board is interested, we can put together an RFP and I'll bring that back to you. People can put in a bid. What I would be looking for is the process they have and some type of a pricing schedule that they're willing to adhere to, whether it's by the pound, by the bag, the cost, and let you, the board, decide which local hauler you want to work with on travel.
Is there opportunity to charge them a fee for using our property?
They're doing it at no cost, they're absorbing all the costs.
I don't know if the businesses, I don't know if the number of people that are gonna show up, it's gonna make it worthwhile. None, the ones that we've talked to, the ones I've been involved with talking to, don't wanna be tied into a contract because they're not sure that they'll actually turn a profit.
So there's talk about a 90-day trial.
Right.
Could that be incorporated in that, you know, if there's a certain amount of usage over, you know.
If the vendor feels it's successful and they could make it work financially, I would look to get into a contract or an MOU, then we could talk about the future agreement. But at this point, I think leaving it as a trial to determine whether or not it's viable would be the best option.
And I mean, when we were pulling trash there, I mean, we were pulling 1 to 5 ton a month. I mean, a 5 ton a week. We're open 3 days a week. Then we're talking about just Saturdays now. So there's not a lot of, I don't know if the numbers are really there.
You're really reading, yeah, but it'd be an option, you potentially have violated something in it, may be a step in the right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm also always looking for that.
Sure.
Yeah, you are.
I don't know if this is the right time to look
No,
for that.
I'm just saying this is something we should be keeping in mind.
Yeah.
I have a question based on what DES told me. I'm gonna deep dive into this too. There's a bunch of other towns. If you look online, you can find out that got out of that at the same time Allison did. And they're still listed in that co-op on the Casella's website. But Casella is the operational business who runs the transfer station for the city of Concord. So my question is what DES is telling you, is that 100% correct? Because Casella owns the business and provides that service. According to the website.
We talked to our lawyers and They actually brought
How
their
do you
lawyer,
recommend the website?
they actually brought their lawyer down here. They came down to speak with
But
us.
what I'm telling you is what I read on the Concord, New Hampshire website, they're in the process of changing their process again. But it's up there.
It becomes like,
The contract was entered in between the state, the seller and the tenant. It wasn't just between the seller and the state of Poland.
But what I'm saying with this one here, Casella one. Just like what we do.
let's see. See what.
So is there a consensus for us to move forward with this?
Yeah, we should go to that, absolutely.
Thank you. I'll get back to you. Thank you both.
Okay.
You're done? I'm good. Perfect.
Thank you, guys.
You got it. With that,
Yes. See if we can. Yes. Ladies online, thank you for being patient and listening to everything interesting we had to say here. We're gonna put you folks up next because you've been so patient. And I will admit, I've been gone for 4 meetings. John, Trish. This has to do with employee benefits and we're doing updates.
we've all got copies of this over the weekend. We have 4 documents that will need to be signed to move our health and dental over to Anthem for health and Americas for dental. As well as we also have Aaron online. Kathleen, you brought up looking at moving our 457 deferred compensation to Empower. Aaron is joining us from Empower in case the board had any questions before we move forward with that. I also have the agreement. If you're ready to sign it this evening, we can transfer that program. So we want to take the medical and dental first. Jenna, are there any?
Sure. Hi. Yeah, the other thing I was going to mention, John, is that we had also talked about moving the life, short-term and long-term disability from Standard, who's the present carrier, over to the Hartford for the same benefit, $7,100 a year cheaper. So we did send that out to bid and we came back with a real, what I believe is a really competitive quote. So we were going to talk about that also.
So I'll have the price breakout and I'll send that to you over the weekend. You can see the savings between our Standard Insurance, which is our current carrier, and the Hartford. And I also have that document here this evening, if you are ready to make a decision on that.
The only difference between the current the plans with the Standard and the plans with the Hartford is right now the town has a really unusual life insurance benefit. It's per the certificate that I received, 1.48 times the annual salary to a max of $150,000. It's really unusual. The Hartford could not match that, so for instead it's going to be 1.5 times the annual salary, so slightly higher, but still less expensive. So generally, a question that I get are the plans the same or are they comparable? They're very comparable in terms of the benefit. There's just that one slight difference between the life insurance policy, which honestly, I've never seen a 1.48 times annual salary. There's got to be a story there somewhere. But I don't know what it is. So we're gonna, it'll just need to get bumped to a 1.5. I don't know if a handbook needs to be updated or anything like that, but that's something that John and I can work out later. But you know, there's no reason to not move the life and disability for the savings.
So if we do have employees potentially right now collecting short-term or long-term disability, that transition would be managed by your staff, or how would that happen?
There would be no transition for anybody currently on disability. Standard will own them until the end of the disability period. And so if we have people out on disability, I need to know that in advance because I'll need to get their life insurance grandfathered by the Hartford. So that's, that's something that some legwork I would do behind the scenes.
You can give her that information, I'll do it for you.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I was saying to John that I would assume he'd give you that information, so.
It's part of my checklist of things all my million questions that I ask before we flip the switch.
You folks have been talking about this for the last 4 meetings and thank you, John. Jenna, now you know why I always have my wife sit next to me when I talk insurance.
It is a language I speak.
So I want to make sure I get this right. We have 4 separate groups of forms here that need a signature. From the chair.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, do you have one other question? We got this spreadsheet as well. Is this part of these contracts now?
That's just the information you asked for.
Yeah, okay.
We can bring that up at another time. I'm not, right. That's more of an employee policy.
And all of these agreements are with New England Employee Benefits Company.
They're all under that umbrella.
Okay. All right. So. First one is for the new health insurance plans.
The title of the documents right at the top.
Employer medical only enrollment application for small groups. And
With Anthem.
With Anthem. Here, and I make a motion. And I know you members are all more familiar with this than I am. I make a motion that we sign this agreement. Sorry, that's all I've got.
Would you like me
You know what? If you're more familiar with these, absolutely.
to? That way?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I make a motion that the town of Allenstown enter into agreement with Anthem on the employer medical only enrollment. Effective August 1st, 2025.
One second.
All in favor? Kathleen, aye.
Diane, I, Laura, I.
Scott.
Trish, aye. Chairs. I make a motion that the town of Allenstown enter into agreement with Emeritus for group dental and eye care. We do both, just the group dental.
Just whatever is checked, it's just that.
It's just dental.
Just that, group dental, effective August 1st, 2025.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Sorry.
Trish, aye.
Kathleen, I. Diane, I. Laura, I.
We can do it together. Alright, I make a motion that the town of Allenstown enter an agreement with Anthem for HRA accounts effective August 1st, 2025.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Kathleen, I. Diane, I. Laura, I.
Trish,
Laura,
aye.
aye.
Yeah, Trish, aye. And I make a motion that the town of Allenstown enter into agreement with the Hartford Insurance Group for short-term disability, long-term disability, and basic life and accidental death and dismemberment insurance, effective August 1st, 2025.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Kathleen, I. Diane, I. Laura, I.
Trish, aye.
Scott.
John, there is that one more Transamerica document.
And which one was that?
It's the accident, critical illness, and hospital indemnity.
Oh, those are the supplemental?
Yes.
The board was looking to offer those to the August 1 rollout.
You did give us the
The-
specifics on it last
Right.
time. I don't.
Those are event driven, whether it's a hospital, an accident, for lack of a better term, the Aflac type
Yeah, right.
coverage. Was the board looking to add those?
Option to add for you to want to, yes.
Okay. So the answer is yes, Jenna?
Okay.
You'll need to get me documentation to sign?
I thought I had, but I will follow up with you tomorrow morning with it if I have not.
Okay, I know you sent me packets, I'm not sure if you sent me the signature, if you did, I apologize.
It could have been me.
If the board would like to make a motion that you're willing to approve that, I'll get the signature pages and send it out electronically. So we can keep this all moving to stay on track.
I think it's noteworthy that an employee asked for these benefits. So I
Right.
think it's really great that the town can respond like that.
Jenna, would you mind repeating the actual 3 programs so we can make a motion?
I don't mind. For August 1st, the town of Allenstown will be rolling out the Transamerica accident policy, the Transamerica critical illness, and the Transamerica hospital indemnity plans that are 100% employee paid.
So stated.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Trish, I.
Kathleen, I.
Diane, I. All right.
Scott.
Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for your patience, ladies.
Oh, wait,
problem.
she, only one lady, still need the other one.
Oh.
See you soon, guys.
Don't go anywhere.
So, brings us to the Empower. Aaron, would you like to say anything before the board gets into a discussion?
Sure. Just to clarify, for everyone who's present, I'm actually, so I'm the executive director as hired by the commission that oversees the plan. So I'm actually a state of New Hampshire employee. Empower is our record keeper for the plan, and we also work with a financial advisor firm who gives us input to the investments that we offer under the plan. So that's kind of the structure of the plan. And just kind of so everybody understands, the public employee deferred compensation plan is authorized under section 457 of the IRS code and New Hampshire RSA 101B. So that RSA, that statute, it is what grants you as a subdivision of the state of New Hampshire, as a political subdivision, to join onto our plan. Or, you know, if you choose to run your own plan, you can do that as well. Administratively, though, there's a lot of strategic solutions, and it really simplifies operations on your part to kind of join onto our plan, since we already have the makeup of the commission that oversees the plan. We already have documents in place that, you know, drive how the plan works, how we invest, what investment options we make available to participants of the plan. So we really do that work at the state level and then offer it out to any political subdivision of the state to join.
Well, we currently do have a plan with Nationwide.
Okay.
We're looking for, what I was looking for is, in my time working with the state, I found that the fees Empower was getting comparable results at that time to Nationwide, but the overall fees that the investor was paying was less, so they were getting better returns. So that's when I had first reached out, I think, to your predecessor to see if maybe the town of Allenstown could make that conversion. I know when I did it, because I was a state employee, I rolled everything out of Nationwide. So I'm wondering if we do this conversion in Allenstown, will our employees do the same thing? They'll just roll right out of Nationwide into an Empower Managed fund, paying less fees, hopefully earning higher returns.
Correct, yeah, so I would venture to guess, and I didn't have a chance to compare your fees, but of course, you know, we do have economies of scale, so we have quite a large plan. It's just over I think it's about 536 million in assets in the plan. So that right there gives us a lot of leverage, again, as when we go out to RFP for a record keeping service. So like you guys have Nationwide, we have Empower, to really negotiate lower fees. So yes, as you said, if you choose to make the transition, the team at Empower, we would work with you to kind of notify the folks at Nationwide and roll you into our plan. So in essence, all the assets that your participants hold in the Nationwide plan would roll over into similar, or if we have the same offerings, and they do a whole mapping where they'll map where people are going to. There'll be some opportunity for employees who are transitioning to maybe make some investment changes before we solidify those transitions. So there's a whole process that takes place. Timeline wise, it can take up to like 120 days to kind of make that transition. We're currently working right now with a few other political subdivisions, so I would venture to guess we would be looking, if you did want to roll into our plan, to do it towards the end of this coming year. So probably the goal would be, you know, early November, December timeframe right now to ensure that you know, we'll have a team dedicated to Allenstown for the transition from Empower.
Another thing that, and I don't know if this was my personal experience as a state employee, but one thing that I really did like too was that as new employees were hired on, or even on an annual basis, maybe a representative from Empower came out to speak with people about the retirement planning and how important it is. I know in Allenstown, we adopted Nationwide, but as people have been hired over the years, I suspect we have a lot of employees, new employees that don't even realize we had a so to me, I really liked that, and I just want to make sure that Allenstown would receive that service as well.
Correct. So with our plan, we have three dedicated to the state, dedicated in retirement plan advisors, RPAs. You would get one of them would be dedicated to come and handle the town. So if you wanted to set up a time for the person to come in and just be available to meet with staff, they could do that. If you wanted to set up time slots for staff, they're available in person, they're available online, they're available on the phone. So they can be very flexible in how they can work and meet with your staff. The nice thing that we've more recently transitioned to, in prior contracts, these retirement plan advisors really couldn't give financial advice. They are all now licensed to be able to give that investment advice to participants. So we've kind of ensured that we're offering that service. So if somebody wants to meet with them, they're going to get some real good financial advice from someone who's licensed to give that advice.
Nice. One other thing that I had noticed that was different with the Nationwide plans, right now, our employees can choose, I think, I mean, they can pick their own individual stocks if they want to, but they can choose an aggressive plan, a moderate plan, or a conservative plan. I think with Empower, you can still do that, but if you wanted to be aggressive, you would pick a retirement date, say 10, 15 years past your actual retirement. They're just not labeled as aggressive, conservative. Is that still true, or since you've made this change where you have advisors that advise?
We have some different options. So people who are, any participant can kind of take, we call them kind of three pathways. One is do it myself. So those are usually the people that pick that target date fund, like you say. And that target date fund is, I'm going to invest in that target date fund. And as it approaches my retirement date, it's going to become less and less aggressive. And it's kind of going to reset itself once a year, and I can put my money in there and walk away and not worry about it, not think about it. The second thing is the help me do it. So they can log in online and they can enter in all of their information. So they can upload basically their whole financial snapshot. They can include Social Security, any retirement that they're going to get as a household, in the future when they plan to retire. They can enter their mortgage payments. They can do all of these things. And then they can get advice from Empower that's going to say, looking at where you're at now and what your goal is in the future, these are kind of the funds that you should be looking to invest in. Then the third option, which there is a cost to the participants, a higher cost to the participants to do it, but it's still relatively low fees versus going out and kind of doing your own investments, is called what Empower calls My Total Retirement. And that's where they're going to pay, and they're going to have financial advisors looking at their account on a continuous basis and adjusting and making those adjustments for them. So once they're enrolled into that program, they basically have it's like if you have a family investor, so they're going to have a team of people that are watching their investments, making adjustments in accordance with the market and things of that nature. We also offer self-directed brokerage. I don't get involved in that myself, but it is an option. And I believe the self-directed brokerage that we have is through T. Rowe Price. So we also have that option as well.
Okay, we answered all of my questions. Thank you. I have a couple of questions. So historically with Nationwide, they have been advising our employees of their investment max, and making sure that they're not exceeding that for the federal guidelines, and individuals can only invest a certain amount. Is that a service that this product provides?
When they can log into their accounts, they'll see what their IRS limits are. Traditionally in our plan, it's not something that we're tracking for every participant. They will be aware when they log into their account, and then they can kind of see as they pay through payroll each period, where they're at in terms of those IRS limits.
But they would have to log in and look at that themselves.
Correct. They'd have to that is something kind of on our end that we don't necessarily manage on behalf of the participant. We do offer programs like the special catch-up, the age 50 catch-up, the super catch-up. So we are in all of those programs. When they want to enroll in those programs, we're able to kind of look more closely at each individual that comes forward and says, hey, I wanna do the super catch up this year, or I want to do the age 50 catch up. But in terms of the overall participant base that we have, it is something that, it's made known, these are the IRS limits, but we do have the participant kind of watch for that. We'll do our best to kind of reach out to participants as we can, but again, that's something that does fall, I think, in our plan a little bit more on the participant side.
So our employees also have retirement savings through NHRS, which I'm sure you're familiar with, being a state employee. Is there a place in your portal where they can log that data as well, so that, because that's their entire investment then, if they were only looking at your portal, the investments they make there, they may not have a true picture of whether they're meeting the
So they can upload what the NHRS has a tool that'll tell them what they'll make. It won't track down to the level of what NHRS is investing in for them, but they can upload that information. Like, I anticipate getting X amount per month in retirement from my pension plan, and that information can help build their kind of future portfolio of where I'm at now and kind of, am I on track to hit what I want to be making in retirement what I want to be able to pull from this account in my retirement. Let me know if that makes sense.
So we generally have our open enrollment in November for a start date in January. So it sounds like, we were to consider this fairly soon. There's good opportunity that this could align with our open enrollment for 2026. Is that correct?
Yeah, depending, it can definitely align with your open enrollment. We do, on the state, again, probably same time frame. I think ours is in October. We do November timeframe, we do open enrollment as well. But for this particular plan, employees can join at any time. So there's no delay. Day one, if they want to come in, you do an orientation with them, you tell them about this plan and they say, I want to start putting away money, in my first paycheck. If they get that paperwork to us on time, you can start making those deductions. So there's no wait period for employees. Any employee can participate as well. So it's not just full-time. We have participants that are part-time. We have participants that are per diem. So if you work for the municipality, you're eligible to put into this plan.
Any further questions?
I don't know if the board's ready to vote on this, or would you like to consider it and bring it up to the next meeting?
Reason why I didn't all of it. Yeah. A good plan is that
I sent you the agreement over the weekend to look at. So if you're all in agreement, if I can ask you to make a motion, I'll send that on it for you to sign. Pardon?
Is it printed out for one of us to read?
I didn't bring it here because we hadn't really talked all that much about it. Be in your document for that. Circles. Seeds. And stretch.
He was on what we did. Easily one. Would it be to join here?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. For. Okay. Okay, that's if you want to read it. You want to make a motion? Okay, thank you. I make a motion that the town of Allenstown enter into agreement to adopt the state of New Hampshire section 457 deferred compensation plan. Should we say effective December 1st or January 1st?
Yeah, I mean, that we can make, I know we couldn't probably do it before October because we're transitioning some others, but if you want to do December or January, that we could definitely, from our end, make that work for you, whichever is the board's preference.
I'm thinking January 1st, but it's so close to opening enrollment anyway, and so just be part of all that.
And it gives them more.
Yeah. Effective January 1st, 2026.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Tricia, Kathleen,
Diane, aye.
Laura.
Scott.
I'll send that out to you.
Rich. Diane. Had some information on a new voting machine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
So Judy's here, I, so Judy, I don't you want to. What, so you can speak with the voting machine?
I will let you speak, and
Okay,
then I can
all right,
agree.
so I have.
She's smart.
So this is, Councilor Scott, maybe you can share, so we only have three.
Yeah.
And I've already seen it, so you can take a look at this. So we had, Jeff Sylvester. I came in from LHS. He did a demo of a new voting machine, which is the same brand as the one we have now. So he brought it in here, did a whole demo. So overall, these are my notes here that I typed up. The base is nice and sturdy, way sturdy now. Now it's bigger.
It's quite big.
Yeah, it's like, you know, pretty. It has, if you look in the back, you take the key, you open up, it has a place where people can feed in their ballots if they want it hand counted. Spin the machine around, they can put the ballot in. It also has a much bigger display, it's kind of like this, instead of that tiny little thing that you have to kind of look close. So that was good. It has both SD cards in here, so, and they're both in at the same time, side by side, so when we do the testing, it's gonna be like half the time.
Nice.
Because when we tested for the primaries, it was 6 hours. So, yeah, so they're both in there at the same time, so that was nice.
And I always forget to do the backup first.
Yes,
And once you do the main card, you have to say, yes, I'm ready for the election. So that would take care of my.
Yes.
I've been there.
so yeah, it's nice.
Feel you agree.
And the paper is like the standard roll paper, that you put like in a matting machine, but because of the design of the machine, we still have to buy it from them. Because I think he said when you get down to a certain amount, it just kind of
Yeah.
flops around in
They're
there,
working on
but
that.
they're pretty cheap, so. And then another nice feature is, you look at the machine, it has an overall cover. So when we do the testing and we get it all ready and plug in, you know, the top section, which plugs in much easier than the other one did. You can put that cover on it and you bring it to the poles and you take the cover off and you're ready to go. You don't have to plug it in like that morning, you know, and all that, so that's kind of nice. When we're done testing, we're good to go. When you warranty, on-site training, I think it's a 90-minute or so training that they provide. And that's on-site, and when they come in, they'll make sure it's working right and
And they said they would do training on multiple occasions.
Right,
if we need.
right, if we need to, they'll.
And they do a PowerPoint presentation that we get, so we can use that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the overall cost is $7,000. The town will be billed $3,500, the state will be billed $3,500. So John can be paid with the person.
And I believe that might be in the budget year, they
It's
kept
already
telling
been
us it was gonna. Yeah.
Right, so which is nice, the way they bill, so you know, you don't have to get reimbursed. Yearly contract is $350, the previous machine was $100, so that's really nice. And they will take, LHS will take the top section, down the counting, portion of the old machine and dispose of it, but not base. And also he went over, the state has purchased some of these machines, so you can certain. The town of Londonderry, the town of Wyndham, Manchester, Nashua, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of towns. Bought this machine, so.
Will this be able to address any, changes in state requirements that might come to mind, you know.
Yeah, there's a software that they get from the state that's part of like this yearly contract. Yeah, so anything that gets changed, yeah, from the state, as he did mention.
Yeah, the state, even though they have approved 2 machines, continues to make changes to what they want the machines to do, so they
Right.
continue to make those updates, so the machines are all in compliance with what they need to be in compliance with.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming since you're presenting us this one, you had a chance to look at and review both. And
That's where I was
this is
going
the
next.
one.
Yeah, that's where I was going next.
This is the most similar to the operation that we have now.
Yeah.
The other one comes with, a
Voting
laptop.
Works is the other one.
Voting Works, yeah.
Pittsfield.
Yeah, I mean, I think both would work just fine. I think might be a bigger learning curve with the voting works.
Yeah.
Because it is a little bit more differently
Yeah.
designed.
Yeah, well, the voting works, they actually had a laptop like this that's part of the interface and a printer. And the nice part was, you get a printout that looked like this at the end of the night. As opposed to, I want to take as opposed to like, but, you know, this is easier to read than the other ones. And also, the other nice thing, right in, it takes a snapshot of the name they wrote in, and that's gonna show up on. Yeah.
Just one time and then.
No,
That's all the duplicates.
No,
or
every single one, here's another one, no, see, that's
Everything
another
right
right
in.
in, every single one.
So that's gonna make for a very long change.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
It is.
That's for a way to change that. That's good, but.
Well, for some elections, yeah.
Yeah, there's no ink, it's all thermal printing, I
Yes.
believe, so, and that's part of why it comes out so nice, is that some of those
Oh, yeah.
tapes that we've had before, you squeaking to try and figure out.
But like for counting the writings, I mean, it'll make for a longer tape, but, you know, it'll make for short counting, but yeah, so it's a long So, yeah, the other
Like a
machine.
maintenance contract or something like that.
Instead of one. Okay. Yeah. The voting works, the machine just looked more routine to me. It
could.
folded up
It folded up and.
like a little suitcase, like you publication, and it was small. And it just looked, it was more complicated to operate.
Cause it's more different than what we are.
Yeah,
used
right,
to-
yeah,
to
right.
do.
I did talk to Erica, and she said it worked out well, but some of her supplies she still was gonna buy from healthy chips, so.
Yeah.
So, and the other part is, they're local, they're in Salem, I
Salem,
think.
yeah,
And they said like on voting days, they'll strategically locate his people in different parts of the state, so that's probably. So I think we're good to go on the image cast precinct is what it's.
And
And
this,
I think I saw in my email.
do we as a board even need to, this because it's.
Yes, you have to choose the machine.
Okay.
Well, I'm good with Judy's choice.
Okay.
and I thank Diane and John for getting the demonstration together and doing it here, so let's see.
Yeah. Okay, I can make a motion I make a motion that the town of Allenstown purchase the image cast precinct voting machine from LHS. It's from LHS for the price of $3,500 to be billed to the town. And $3,500 to be billed directly to the state of New Hampshire. That costs Allenstown $3,000.
All in favor?
That will come up here. The question is, do we need to?
That's not in the agreement is just a purchase.
Yeah. I think so, the 1-year warranty, I think,
Quote price includes delivery, acceptance, testing, and 90 minutes of training. Post warranty annual hardware maintenance will be $350.
okay, so post warranty, so we got a year.
Check.
Right,
Okay,
yeah,
that's fine, we'll do that.
Okay. Was I also there?
I saw it.
Laura seconded. All in favor?
Trisha, Kathleen, I.
Right,
Laura.
Scott.
You want to move?
Thank you. I sure was this. Like, so I tell you. Thank you, Julie. I promise you.
So the first election we'll be planning on is March
March.
26th.
Yeah, so we'll have to work with them to see, when they can come into training. I really don't want to do it until like the fall. Yes, so early, yeah.
Got a bunch of stuff that needs signatures,
Can you need to be report first?
so I mean,
I know, just a couple of items. I had a question from one of the department heads asking if the board would consider allowing employees who live outside of Allenstown but work for Allenstown access to the boat launch. Currently, it's only open to Allenstown residents.
Yeah.
So, yes?
Yes.
So other towns also.
Aren't there some underground dump stickers supposed to be the ones, the identifier? Chad purchased dump stickers, we talked about that.
Gotta come to town hall, yeah.
See,
There's some not gonna be any stickers.
Well, we'll see.
They're gonna use a different sticker or they could.
They're facility stickers.
Oh, okay.
I didn't name them dumps, they're townhouse out facility.
Okay, then that. There
Permits.
that works.
Well, we'll see.
He could make a mark on it, it's a V or something that we know it's just put a watching on. That, not sure.
so I think the original
If you're
intent,
concerned that we're gonna have people using the dumpster.
I don't think we will.
I don't either.
I think we know most of them,
Yeah.
so I think we'll be.
You all received an electronic copy of the draft welcome packet
Yes.
that we have been working on. And I gave you a hard copy to look at as well. I've already received feedback from Diane. I would ask you all to take a look at it. Let me know if you suggest any changes or see anything that is inaccurate. And once I hear from all of you, either yes or no, I'm good with it. I'll pass it on to the department heads to review prior to going live and being available.
I just have one general statement about it, it's pretty, but it doesn't match with our current branding, so, we can try to maybe conform the branding a little bit more. And I did see that the town seal is in the pages, so maybe just adding the town seal on the outside, something that, because when I first looked at this, I was like, oh, Allenstown, I thought it was for another state or something, I was like, oh, there's another town named Allenstown, and then I realized, oh, no, it says Allenstown, New Hampshire, so from the branding perspective, it would be immediately tied into it.
Thank you. I also sent you some information on the town webpage migration to give you an idea of what a prospective timeline would look like. That was sent to me after I asked Civic Plus about the possibility that the town would like to get together a committee to talk about what the webpage would look like, how much input would we have. And the question was asked, if we were to choose to go forward with the webpage, would we be able to change if we didn't like the way it looked? The answer I got was design or functionality. Design, if we could change the template, but it would cost. The design we're getting right now is at no charge. The functionality, we do have some input. but most of it is preset with the standard package that we're getting. This is the lowest cost option. To change it any further or make real drastic changes to what you've seen so far, again, would cost money. So I just wanted to get back to
We also talked about in the future, maybe we would need those costs.
possible, yeah.
Would that flow well enough, I mean, you know.
This is their newest version, their base level newest version, so I would imagine, I can't tell you definitively whether it would track that you would be able to change and add different
But-
features.
The departments themselves can post what they want, like
Correct.
they do, okay, that's my concern more with the citizen committee is that. I just want a committee so that they can see what they are looking for, what they wanna see when they log on, so it sounds to me like that's. Kind of moot, it's more the actual information
Correct.
that's going on, so I think it's good.
And I would hope most department heads would get the training to know how to manage their page. The overall function, usually department heads are limited to within their department page, not outside.
Yeah.
But I would encourage all departments to get trained.
Well, the last one I did in Channel Architect site, it was not user friendly, so I did not blame the department. It's
Right.
used to do it.
I'm hoping we have a different outcome.
Yeah, better experience.
And with that said, that brings me to the end. Any questions for me?
All right. The first form that needs at least 3 signatures, although we have 3 signature spots, it's a state form telling them who our health officer and our deputy health officer are already in their positions, just these.
Because we have a new health officer and deputy health officers, this is updating state EHS who the local folks are.
You already published it, but you already got ours filled in there.
Whichever 3 people would like to sign.
I signed that. Is that form enough?
So if you could just, since everybody's here, it was brought to my attention that the payroll manifest that was
Well, you probably do too.
It was brought to my attention that the payroll manifest that was sent out for electronic signature, the gross and net amounts or carryover from the last payroll manifest, they were never updated. I know some of you already electronic signed. I made a hard copy, I'd ask you all 5 to sign it, I adjusted it to show the correct gross and net on the cover sheet.
All next out, or they're.
And right below, above the signatures, you'll see the gross and net.
Oh, okay.
I had to move it. It was a PDF, I couldn't change.
How did you get the change? Yes, you do have that meeting.
Okay. Well,
I'll take your point. I mean, you have to be careful because, you know, you have that, PDF tape and you can't really.
Yeah.
So you do have to be careful, but something like this, you can do that.
Well, at the time you brought it to my attention, I didn't have a lot of
That's
time.
okay.
We wanted to get this to you.
All that's going down the line here, we have 1 welfare lien discharge. It relates to map 409, lot 33, lot 11. And discharge is complete as of this day, 30th of June 2025. I move for the chair and vice chair to sign this. Favor?
Sean,
Kathy, aye. Laura, aye.
do you have a question on that, John? Was that one in which we knew would be?
We did, and we received payment for it. So that lien is free.
And it's, Jackie, maybe with the process and how to make sure we're documenting.
These lanes are so old that we had to rely on
Yeah.
certain
Yeah.
records, unfortunately. Luckily, she did find that.
The next relates to a change in document that was established
Oh, is that the?
for the ad hoc committee. There were some changes recommended.
Yes,
They
so-
made.
At the first meeting, there's a resident that asked if I would put a communication section in there. So I did, it's very brief, but it basically wants the RSA's and say for minutes and those are public. All that, so I made that change. That's it. The last two sections will be numbered, because I put it in, so. Yeah, sort of taking care of my year 2028.
Approve the changes.
I've been working with the olds, and then I got used to putting insurance. Yeah.
All in favor?
Tricia,
Kathleen, I.
very nice, Laura.
Scott. And the last one in this folder. Signing that. The minutes from our last meeting on June 16th. Public minutes. Changes. I move that we accept the minutes of the June 16th meeting. As written.
Let that,
All in favor?
Tricia,
Kathleen, I.
very nice, Laura.
Scott.
BP manifest 148.
It's on spot.
It is.
I checked that. That came in late after I already posted. That calendar.
You can do. The consent calendar.
Yeah, I can do it now, I'm probably.
Just 148.
Yeah.
And
Okay, I make a motion to ratify the consent calendar of June 30th, 2025.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Tricia, I.
Kathleen, I.
Very nice. Laura, I.
Scott.
We'll be done in minutes. Make a motion to approve the 2025 check manifest number 147 and number 148. And the town work payroll manifest for June, signed at June 26th, 2021.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Tricia,
Kathleen, I.
Diana, Laura, I.
Scott. Almost there. We've got some communication here. Have you folks seen the letters we received?
No.
I'll read them as quickly as I can. So it's dated June 16th, 2025, here with the Selectmen. It's a current Allenstown Highway Department employee. I requested with the town of Allenstown recognize the federal holiday of Juneteenth, parade on June 18th each year since 2021. It's a paid holiday for all town employees starting May 6th. The event's important. It's important that Juneteenth also referred to as Freedom Day or Emancipation Day to recognize this. It celebrates the end of slavery. Allowing our employees to recognize this federal holiday, we are celebrate a new beginning in American history that promotes equality and celebrates progress in the States. Our holiday was previously celebrated. Now, we believe that it's important to stay encouraged all citizens as a nation. Martin Luther King said it best, faith is taking the first step when you don't see the steps. We hope that this letter will remind you to consider this chance a new beginning in the town of Allenstown. It helps support all Americans, shed a light, paramount event. Thank you for your time and submission. John, whose sons are Chad, who's
I didn't even know what came to you, so what's
Chase really froze,
Okay,
and
all right, I see.
I think,
JJ.
I think that's exactly what our reach classification study that we had suggested we do, that we should look at expanding holidays, allowing for not, especially if we're gonna have a decreased budget and give raises, and it's a good way to sweeten costs. So I'm in favor of it. Kudos to them for asking. I'm happy that they took the initiative to bring that to us. Support it.
So the other letters were saying not regulated.
We can't.
No.
Well, I mean, a little of the holiday.
State doesn't have it. It's not a state holiday, but.
Yeah, we don't have to follow
Not
the
there.
state.
We just- And we called them some.
Yeah.
And they were actually there.
And I believe the state was two floating holidays. I think what they do is they have the rest of the regular holidays, and employees have two floaters.
Motion.
So I'll make a motion that we add June 19th, 15th to the town of Allenstown paid holiday.
All in favor?
Kathleen, aye. Laura.
Stop.
To take effect in 2026.
They already worked this one.
That's what they do here.
As they were sitting in their office while the rest of their family was at home.
I will let Chase and JJ know the decision. Thank you.
You know, one thing it made me do, this first of all, heard of Juneteenth, really didn't know much history behind it. And what happened afterwards, the Emancipation Proclamation, like we did. And we know it doesn't make any difference what the feds say, they just lie. There are folks who say kind of things. And like, that's, I was waiting for folks to come in, it's history. Yes, it was the sheriff in Texas. That finally said, I'm not gonna get this all right. Okay, they changed the rules. Now you gotta play by the rules. Something along those lines. We know this. Actually, saw this. Yeah. The next one here is from Mike Frassinello. John, please ask the select board to approve this change to the resolution that describes the economic development. Need a total of 5 voting members to appoint tie votes and 3 to have a quorum. Instead of the wording, the committee shall consist of a total of 5 members, up to 3 alternate members, who shall and attend participate in meetings, but can only vote in the absence of 3 members who are citizens of the community, member of the planning board, member of the select. is requesting wording change to this. The committee shall consist of a total of 5 members with voting privileges, up to 3 alternate members and shall and can attend and participate in meetings with alternate members with vote absence. 4 members to be residents of the town. One is also a member of the planning board, I'm saying non-voting representative. So, and resolution is out on the website, Mike.
I have a quick, if it's 5-member board and one of them is a non-voting member of the select board, you still have to, So
That's 5 members, 5 voting members, 4 residents, 1 planning. The select board member is another member with no voting privileges.
So he's not counted in the 5.
Already see about that.
How does that align with our other committees and, that we have, select board members, members of other committees that are voting?
The only voting members currently are municipal budget committee and planning, which is 10.
Okay, yeah, this just isn't clear, like I get that the way it's worded here, you have 5 members with voting privileges. Up to 3 alternates, because they aren't always, and we do the same thing in the library, of the board, the alternates only vote when there's the absence of a voting member. But the next sentence says 4 members are to be residents of the town, so if it's a 5-member board, there's 4. One is also a member of the planning board, so would that be the 5th member is a member of the planning board? Okay, and then there's also a non-voting select board ex officio.
That's the wrong term to use.
Well, he has one as a non-voting representative of the select board, but it sounds like it's included in the total. So we have 4 members and 1 for planning, 1 is a non-voting, so it sounds like we have 2 and 2. So I would do 4 voting members are to be residents of the town. 1 is also a member of the planning board, and then 1 additional non-voting representative of the select board. Yes. Then you have a total of 6.
In our other committee, the boards have the select person in the voting chamber, I think it should be the same on the
Chair, I can speak to this a little more because it's included in the revision that I made to the rules and procedure. So in your folder, everybody's got a copy of the rules and procedure that I've been working on for the past couple weeks, months. So what I did was I typed in the rules and procedure for like 90% of what we already have. I put it. I also reviewed the one from Redwood. And as I was going through this, I was looking up, so most of here comes from here.
Yes.
And Redwood's document pretty much regurgitates what's in here as well. So what I did was I left what was there, and I did come across, as I come across RSAs, I looked them up. So I did look up and I put a section in here, right here. So ex officio members of other boards, so I found the RSAs, and there's also an information, like question and answer thing from NHMA. And it clearly states that, so land use boards, an ex officio from the select board is required to be a member of the planning board and has voting rights of other members. So see RSA, this is RSA. And then the other one is budget committee, it's not called ex officio, it's just called, so I took these words right out of the RSA. 1 member of the governing body shall be appointed for a 1-year term to the budget committee, CRSA 3215, municipal budget, budget committee. And then if you look at the NHMA question and answer sheet, it says that a lot of towns make the mistake of thinking they have to put a select board member on all the committees. That is not the case. It's planning board and budget committee only.
But we're in this town, if we were to decide, I would want it to be the same fund.
We can do that. It's not recommended by them because the concern is from what I heard when I went in April to that workshop was we as a select board need to make sure that we do what we need to do on the select board and not control other boards. So they need to be able to operate like independent. And that's kind of the concern. What's that?
Then the suggestion is there's no select board member.
Right.
Right.
Right, like I was saying,
That's what I
like
was
we've gotta look into ZBA. And like EDC, that doesn't require any.
I would like to revise the wording that I submitted to concur with what Diane said and remove any mention of a select board member from the EDC committee for specific purpose of this discussion. I don't see the need of a select board member. If you've pointed out that the planning board, the budget committee are the only places that require.
So we could just have it saying 5 voting members are
Yeah,
the
that's what
residents
I
of the
would do.
town, one is also a member of the planning board.
Yeah.
There we go,
Yeah.
perfect. Like my life, I sure did. So I will make a motion to change the EDC's resolution to state the committee shall consist of a total of 5 members with voting privileges, with up to 3 alternate members who can attend and participate at meetings, but the alternate members can only vote in the absence of a regular member. 5 voting members are to be residents of the town. 1 is also a member of the planning board.
All in favor?
Commissioner.
Kathleen, I.
Diane, aye?
Laura, I.
Scott. And last thing I have, Chief, do you want to talk about this? There isn't a whole lot to say other than Primex denied our coverage for the woodpecker rolls on the fire station.
And
So,
so, Chief Lambert. Yes, I spoke with them at length, and we don't have a rider that covers tests. So they did their investigation and determined the fact that the roof is not covered. So I have tasked Lieutenant Ducharme with looking at roofing companies that will come in and replace the piece of plywood that's rotten and reinforce the truss, because we cannot, they wanted to do half of the roof. They wanted to pull all the panels up and do half of the roof, because a lot of the roofers, they won't touch it unless they do that. But we reached out to, with Chad did a reference for an HEC today, and a couple of others that are coming tomorrow to take a look at it. So hopefully, and we're probably running into this, they are now in full swing with their season, so a lot of them already have contracts in place and they're doing it work, so to squeeze us in is might be. The company, the solar company did come and flash the whole thing, so it's not leaking now, but the worry is, this one piece of plywood that is very soft. And it's a snow load, but not, it might cause it to push further through. So we're looking to try to get, hopefully an inexpensive repair to get us through until, next budget season, and or we find a way to fund the bigger repair.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hope so.
does this include the plywood under the solar panels?
It is, if you're looking at the station to the left of it, right on the edge of the last solar panel as you come down. There's 2 holes in the top and the water has gone in, sorry, there's 4 holes across the top. And there's like 5 or 6 more down inside of it. The water was running in and running down the joist or the truss. And kind of meeting together where the holes were, and that's where the worst of the rot is, so.
And we look at a way to keep those woodpeckers from doing this again?
We like the airport, people to take care of them, but well, Mr. Venegas, the tree that they lived in his yard, he cut down last year, so I think we're dealing with just the leftover. So all the trees on the ground, there's no rotten trees over there, because that's usually what they like to live in, and like eat all the carpenter ants and stuff like that. So that's my speculation, and that's kind of sort of was explained to me by them, so.
We put like a mesh over it.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know how well that.
I think a scarecrow.
Yeah. I think we should just get the old horn going again, make it slow. I'm scared of them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's foolish.
Well, they get rid of their house, so
Right.
I don't know, I really
I
don't.
think.
They get rid of their house, so they can't live there anymore, so imagine that, with the house gone, that maybe they moved on to better places, so I'll get home for it, so.
Fingers crossed.
Well, they like the moss, right? So
Yeah.
if we can picture the moss doesn't grow.
Yeah, which shocks me, that sun beats on that side, there's no moss on it, it's just a weird thing where they,
What you just was
What
looking
if
for.
it's amazing?
oh, yes.
Yeah, there's a, I think it's in California, a town in California, where people's rearview mirrors are constantly being snapped.
Yeah,
By woodpeckers. Yeah, they think they see a possible move, and they part of how they. Maybe, you know.
so I had one.
It started.
Is it
Yeah.
So while there's nothing to vote on here, we do have a non-public.
I have one other thing. So with the PD, taking delivery of their cruiser that they had, that we talked about in the spring, migrated from the fire department, PD paramedic intercept vehicle. That's moved over, at the time right now, they did have some issues with, some concerns with the transmission, which seems to have cleared themselves, we've done some test driving around. So with that being said, that's gonna slowly move into probably the vehicle that is mine will become the paramedic intercept vehicle and or the fire inspector. Because right now he's using the forestry in the middle of the winter, which is not needed like pumps on the fire trucks. So he's taking that to do inspections on a regular basis, so this car is gonna be a dual role. So that way you'll see that at the station, I know somebody mentioned it on Facebook, there was a cruiser car fire station and it's basically gonna be that. So in the future, as we build up the program, the hope is that if we have a paramedic available, they have that car and they can take it and respond either here or mutual aid, which will benefit us to bring in revenue. So you'll see that at the fire station, I just guys want you to be aware of that, so there. So that's it.
Yes, Chief. And we have one non-public, so.
Chief, any keys, no one's. Here, I am today.
We don't have to vote, but it's in a year.
Yeah, I do.
So this. No, it's not. So it's pretty close to what we have with other, with, as I came up. Oh,
I know, we move.
Yeah, that's just. No, it's in there, because these are.
We'll just hammer it. A couple streets.
This is gonna
Yeah.
be published on our website, and if somebody's thinking about running for select board or wondering of what kind of people wanna complain, they don't understand what we do. And that spells it out, like, so I don't, if you could add to that, add it.
I could, I mean, it's.
I like to take exactly what Brentwood has, like it lists all.
It's just, and honestly, when you know, running, I had, there was a lot of work to look up, to find the RSA first of all, to know what I'm getting into. And I think that just, and I think a lot of people who run don't realize how much the RSA govern what we do.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that those are things that they need to be knowledgeable of.
Or when they're complaining that we didn't want McDonald's, like, it's nice to have that there, like, these are things. It's fun when they're our responsible.
Yes, I was.
Brentwood's more. Yeah, Brentwood's is more.
It's more than this.
Yeah, if you look at what Brentwood,
I mean,
Brentwood went.
So, is it electronic somewhere? Redwoods? Yeah, that's.
I said.
I'd rather type it in, so that I don't have to deal with the format, but like ours.
I sent Brent,
That was regarded, I'm a pro on the Adobe, I'm a pro on the Adobe copy, so.
Because then if anything changes, I have to go over and change it as opposed to.
Yeah.
And it's all these gyrations.
oh, down here.
You can do
You can
that.
hide from the Adobe, but put it in a Word, and then you do it. So it's much work to do.
All right,
Yeah, so you kind of starting point.
So then the same, we could say the same for retention periods of documents. That also deal with select board and managing the town, and there's 167 of those in the RSA. So.
What are we talking about here?
Oh, that's not it.
All the verbiage, but at least have a, you know.
And I don't
a list
even
of
want,
what the-
on all the verbiage, if you look at Brentwood's, it says what the responsibilities are. Yeah, it doesn't go into every, it tells the RSA, we don't have to verbatim what every part of our role as assessors, you just, it says, you add.
This is the RSA
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that,
I mean, I hope that that's how they have it, and, you know, I think that.
If you have comments.
today is the kind of guy waiting here for about 2 hours in a very warm suit, long sleeve shirt.
Thank you, Dennis.
I move that we enter into non-public session in accordance with the provisions of RSA 91-A:3, part 2. At 8:16 PM.
I think it's one scene. Second,
I'll second that.
thank you.
All in favor?
Kathleen, I.
Scott, aye.
Give me a moment,
All right.
give me a moment.
Mhm.
the minutes of the non-public session be sealed as they may adversely affect somebody, a member of this board.
Second.
All in favor?
Michelle?
Kathleen, I.
Good night, Laura.
Scott? You're not done yet. We should at least put this to a vote. We may know where it's gonna go, we have to put it to a vote. I move that we accept the fire chief's proposal. Given the numbers, this is almost a zero-sum game here. We get to keep our fire chief, we get to keep the fire department as is. Sorry, I went a little long on that. But I believe I made that as a motion.
So your motion is to change the fire chief position from part-time to full-time?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. As proposed by the fire chief with a cost this year
$24.
of $24. Which, if need be, Selectman Scott McDonald will cover with his stipend.
Second.
Diane seconds, all in favor.
Nay, I need further information and would like to consider putting this out to the voters.
I'm also a no, I also need time to review the information and do further research.
Diane, I.
Scott, aye. Motion fails.
One extension?
Yes.
I move that we adjourn our meeting at 9:12 p.m.
I'll second.
All in favor.
Rashawn? Kathleen, I.
Diane, Laura.
And Scott.
I'm leaving my first.
Can I put that on a minute? For now, in a minute?
Yeah, we want to make the